Raspberry Pi launched its first computer in 2012 with the primary goal of democratizing access to computing and reigniting interest in programming and hardware tinkering, especially for students. While initially a tiny single-board computer designed for embedded projects and learning, its affordability and Linux-based operating system meant that people immediately began using it as a minimalist, low-power desktop replacement for basic tasks. The development of its dedicated, user-friendly Raspberry Pi operating system, originally Raspbian, has continuously improved the desktop experience, solidifying its position as a viable, low-cost PC. But how is a Raspberry Pi positioned itself since its early days in the desktop replacement market? What specific products, what support and impact has this foray into enterprise computing via desktop replacements had on Raspberry Pi's mission to provide cost-effective, high-performance computing for businesses and the home? Well, join us as we discuss these questions in this episode of our podcast. With me today is Simon Burgess, who works within the commercial team here at Raspberry Pi. Simon, welcome. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at Raspberry Pi?
Yeah, hi Ken. Thanks very much. Thanks for that introduction. I'm Simon. I've been in Raspberry Pi for over 4 years now. Joined at the same time as you, actually, Ken.
Yeah,
so
I remember.
Just over 4 years. And one of my responsibilities is to look at customers and how we can help them use our technology for end-user computing or sort of desktop replacements, the various sort of terms. My background is very much in this area, and I worked for Hewlett-Packard, HP, for a number of years, looking after various parts of their PC business.
Excellent. That's very impressive, Simon. So we'll get right into the conversation. I mean, one of the first question I wanted to ask you, Simon, was can Raspberry Pi products be used as desktop PCs?
Yes, most definitely. We have the Pi 4 and the Pi 5. We also have the Pi 400, Pi 500, and recently announced the Pi 500 Plus, which is basically a PC in a keyboard or a computer in a keyboard, and that's the 500 Plus, and that also has a hard drive in there. And these days, most people are looking at accessing applications from the cloud, and our devices, whether it's a Pi 4, Pi 5, or one of the devices such as the 500s and 500 Plus, are perfect for whether you're looking at Microsoft applications, Google applications, and other applications as well.
Now, thinking about what you just mentioned now, in terms of, yes, they can be used as desktop PCs, would they primarily be just for home use? Because that might generally be the concept that people might have.
Well, not at all. They are excellent, though, for home use. And in fact, my mother-in-law uses one. She's got a Pi 5 and she uses it for Duolingo and emails, and she's delighted for that and with it. And absolutely, they can be used at home. But we have lots of companies that also use our products. So enterprise customers work with some of our enterprise partners, and they've got a fleet of Raspberry Pi-based thin clients, typically, where the data is and the applications are in a central server, and they access the information, the data, and the applications using a Raspberry Pi device.
Good. Interesting you talked about Duolingo. My daughter's also learning new languages using Duolingo.
Yeah, I hear
well,
it's really good.
Yeah, so I heard. I should try it soon myself. Okay. Now moving on, what would you say are some benefits of sort of using Raspberry Pi technology as a PC?
Okay, well, they're low cost, which is really good. Low power, which is really important, especially for companies. So if they've got hundreds or thousands of computers across their organization, reducing the energy use is really important. So we contribute to that. So price performance is really good. And we also have a long life commitment on our products. So, for example, the Pi 4 will be in production, be available until at least January 2034, and the Pi 5 until at least January 2036. And that is really important for our customers. So an enterprise customer can have a long life enterprise class device with full management and security wrappers around it, working with one of our partners.
That's really good. Those are really outstanding benefits, actually.
Absolutely.
When you think about those, excellent. I mean, when you think about PCs and sort of use of computers in general, you start to think about licensing costs and things like that. Are there any software licensing costs if one was to consider using Raspberry Pi as a PC?
Sure. Okay. So there's no cost for the operating system, so the Raspberry Pi OS. And also what comes with each of our products is an Office suite by LibreOffice. So you can basically use similar applications to you'd be used to using with Microsoft and Google. So LibreOffice has something called LibreOffice Write, which is a word processor, LibreOffice Calc, which is spreadsheets, LibreOffice Impress, which are presentations, and they're fully compatible with Office. So there's no cost for that at all. So you've basically got free of charge use of those applications for however long you've got your computer. Of course, you can also access Microsoft applications and Google applications and other services which might have a charge. For Microsoft, there'll be a monthly charge. Google, a monthly charge as well. So you'd have to pay that if you are using those applications and services. If you're using email, typically those are free of charge, so there wouldn't be a cost for that.
Oh, that's very helpful. I think that's something important for anyone who's considering using this.
Yeah,
as a
absolutely.
PC to know about.
Yeah, it is very cost effective.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I know that you've spoken about applications a few times since we started this conversation, but just asking specifically what kinds of applications could be used with a Raspberry Pi computer?
They're exactly the same applications that you would be looking at using with what you might call a traditional PC. So it would be word processing, it would be spreadsheets, it would be presentations. And if you think about any other application that is based in the cloud, you'd have your web browser, and literally you would access those as you would with any other device that you might use.
Now, you've spoken about sort of applications that one could use on a Raspberry Pi. If you're using it as a personal computer, obviously you're going to generate documents, in using this application. Where are documents stored on a Raspberry Pi?
Okay, so yeah, if you're using a Raspberry Pi computer sort of standalone, then you'd store your files on an SD card in the case of a Pi 4 or a Pi 5, and a Pi 400 and Pi 500. The case of the 500 Plus, then it has its own internal hard drive, and you would store your files there. But remembering you're still accessing a lot of the applications from the cloud. If you work with one of our enterprise partners and use our technology as a thin client, then you typically wouldn't have anything stored actually on the thin client's device itself. They'd be stored at a central server, either on a company's premises or in the cloud, and the applications and the data would be stored there.
Thinking about storage, something's just come to my mind, which is around security, actually. So how secure are Raspberry Pi computers?
So you'd use the same security authentication process as you would with a traditional PC or even your phone. So the applications that you're accessing will have their own passwords, for example, and then maybe a second factor of authentication, whether it's asking for a particular code that's being sort of texted to you or some other means. So you've got those normal levels of security that you'd expect. And if you are a business and you are using our technology as a thin client, then as everything's held centrally and not on the device itself, that is normally considered more secure than just having your information on a desktop where users can load the different applications on. It's sort of far more locked down, as it were.
I mean, when you think about the desktop market in general, that's quite broad. People would use them for different reasons. But I mean, when you think of Raspberry Pi specifically as a PC, what types of use cases are you seeing out there?
So apart from Duolingo, which we've discussed before, there are lots of applications and lots of uses. But I'll give you a couple of examples of companies that are using our technology. So one example is McDonald's in South America and the Caribbean. Their franchisee partner, which is their largest one in the world, have basically replaced all of their back office PCs with a Raspberry Pi thin client by a partner of ours called N Computing. So they've basically taken the PCs out of the business, put thin clients in the back office, about 2,500 of them. So they're doing all of their normal business processing using the devices. And they've seen some real benefit there. It was definitely at a lot lower cost, so they saved a lot of money in terms of the capital cost. They also saved a lot in terms of energy usage, which we spoke about before, which is really important for organizations. And also even down to the size of the device. So this is a thin client by N Computing, which is really small. And they can be fitted onto the back of the screen. So if desktop space is limited, that's another benefit that companies are getting, which I know that Arcos Dorados, which is the franchisee, basically benefited from. So I can give you another example. A company close to home in the UK is a company called Explore Learning, and they provide private education, private tuition to children to basically supplement their regular tuition. So it's a private company, and they have learning centres throughout the UK. And they've replaced about 5,000 PCs with N Computing thin clients again, so another thin client implementation across their estate. And they've had similar benefits where they've had reduced costs, far less power consumption, and a far better experience for their users, for their customers.
That's good. That seems really practical. It sort of makes sense already why they would sort of use the computers in the way that they use them.
Absolutely, and most companies that I hear of get these sort of similar benefits.
It kind of reminds me too of two hospitals in Nigeria as well.
Okay,
they kind of make use of the devices in a similar way, particularly for medical records. So you find the Raspberry Pi computers, using them as desktop computers in doctors' offices, consulting rooms, and things like that. Again, sort of using it in connection with a cloud-based application. So makes a lot of sense.
No, absolutely. And we're hearing about more and more use cases every day. And I think with the introduction of something like the 500 plus, we're just going to see that accelerate.
Excellent. Now, yes, we've spoken a lot about these use cases, but thinking around support, particularly for enterprise type customers, I know home users too will benefit from that. But what kind of support is available for companies that want to venture into the use of Raspberry Pi technology as a PC?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so if you're an individual, there's the community support, and there are a lot of people out there that are sort of there that are just delighted to help. From a business's point of view, as I've discussed, we have a number of partners that have taken our technology and they've put an enterprise wrapper around it, which provides all of the support that a company would expect, from the sort of management of the devices that are remotely dispersed around their organizations, to the security for those and ongoing sort of maintenance support that any company would expect from a sort of business product.
That's good. That's very good. I'm sure a lot of people listening to this right now will be asking, where can they buy them from?
Right, okay. So customers can buy our products from, we've got over 100 resellers around the world, so they're available throughout the world. They can buy them directly from those resellers. Also, going back to businesses, they can go to one of our partners who will provide a sort of complete solution. And if anyone wants any sort of direction in help and where to buy the products, by all means, contact me. I'd be more than happy to help.
I'm sure you would, Simon. Well, thank you very much, Simon. This has been a very insightful conversation. I have benefited a lot from it, and I imagine that, anyone or most people listening to this too will benefit greatly from the information that you've shared. It's been great to talk about, the Raspberry Pi 400, the Pi 500, the more recent Raspberry Pi 500 as well, which are desktop-specific products here at Raspberry Pi. Thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure talking to you today.
And a pleasure to be here. Thanks very much, Ken.